Good morning and welcome to a Monday edition of Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Got a great show lined up for you. We're going to be joined by former Gator great wide receiver Ike Hilliard, second portion of the program. Scott Moore from the Panhandle, who has his radio show called I Talk SEC. First, some really bad news that came out of this weekend. Former Gator wide receiver Reshae Caldwell was shot and killed. So our thoughts and prayers go out to his family and loved ones. Just a terrible tragedy. But on a good note, we're going to go straight to the Titan Tomorrow hotline, and we're joined by old number 19, Ike Hilliard. Good morning, Ike. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good morning, everyone. Appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Well, Ike, you grew up in Louisiana. When I have all the former players on my show, I like to kind of go back in the day. You know, you were a star athlete there in Louisiana. What other schools besides Florida recruited you? I'm sure LSU, you know, you're related to the great Dalton Hilliard, who was a tremendous running back there. But let everybody know what other schools that you took visits to or what have you, and what made you choose the University of Florida?
Oh, man, I can go on for a little bit. This is kind of a crazy story. I'll give you the somewhat condensed version. But coming from a small town, Patterson, Louisiana, maybe 5,500 people in my hometown. Had a graduation class of 78 people, 463 people in my school, public school, and we played two-way ball out there. All of my family are die-hard LSU people. Every one of my relatives that were fortunate enough to play college football went to LSU, and I obviously took the road less traveled. But what happened with that decision, I think, started with the fact that playing running back and free safety in high school, when I was a senior, I was 171 pounds. So I didn't foresee a college career that was going to be worth anything being a smaller guy at running back, nor did I have the mentality to want to run up and hit 230-pound backs. So I tried to convince people, for lack of a better way to say it, to allow me to play receiver. So the recruitment process was a little bit different. I wasn't a guy who made All-State in high school or any of that stuff. They just knew that I was an athlete. They knew I had obviously some family that had been, you know, fairly successful. You mentioned my uncle. You know, and he's a Louisiana legend. You know, he obviously played at Patterson, went to LSU, and broke all sorts of records there, and then was drafted by the Saints, so he never left the state. But for me, my brother was actually at LSU when I was coming out. His senior year was going to be my freshman year as well. And the coach at LSU, Curly Allman, was convinced that, you know, Ivory was going to play strong safety and I was going to be the free safety. And I looked at coach and politely told him, I saw Jerome Bettis and Nate Means. I'm not interested. I'd rather play offense. I don't think running back is in my future, even though that, you know, that's what I did in high school. So I said I wanted to be a receiver. And they were adamant about me playing defense. And that wasn't my thing. So I guess after being long-winded in that regard, what happened next is that there are only 3 schools that really recruited me. And the school that recruited me the heaviest was the University of Pittsburgh. And I actually verbally committed to the University of Pittsburgh. And you know, very few people know that. But Ken Karcher was the coach that recruited me there. It was, I mean, we lost, you know, Coach Majors recently as well. So, you know, condolences go out to his family as well. But it was his second stint at Pittsburgh. And it was going to be that first year. And Reuben Brown and Curtis Martin were actually on that team, and that was going to be their last year. So they're like, yeah, man, come on out and play a little wide out, and, you know, we'll let you start there. And a little bit late in the recruiting process, Florida jumped in. The only other school, because I mentioned 3, was Texas A&M. And I never took a visit to Texas A&M. I was always at LSU, so I never took an official visit to LSU, but I was there because of my brother. But I did go to Pittsburgh, and I ended up going to Florida about 4 weeks right before signing day. It was kind of late in the process, but I went to Florida. they take you around, you visit all of that stuff. I look on the, obviously on the film, and there are 3, 4, and 5 wide receivers. And I'm like, hey, this is where I like to be, obviously. And if I can get at least 1 year of this, then maybe we'll have a chance at this NFL thing. But Coach Spurrier and all of those guys there that were honest with me, that year in '94, I guess going back now, on scholarship was Chris Doering, Jack Jackson, Aubrey Hill, and Sorola Palmer. And we signed 6 that year, and I was the 6th to sign. And that year we had, in my class, myself, Travis McGriff, Riedel Anthony, Jaquez Green, Jamie Richardson, and Nafis Kareem. And we went into the off season, and we have to kind of find our way to get some playing time, and we went from there.
Talk a little bit about, Coach Dixon had so many great wide receivers in his career in Florida. What he meant to you as a coach and what you've learned from him, and we'll talk about your coaching career a little bit later, but what you've kind of implemented and what you do now from Dwayne Dixon. Well,
it starts with the fundamentals of the game. I've spoken to a lot of the guys that have gotten in the profession, that have crossed paths with Coach Double D. And sometimes he doesn't get enough credit, for the things that he did with us. And, sort of a shame, but, at every chance we get, we kind of try to uplift him a little bit. Not that, he's in a bad situation. He's still coaching. He's still giving back to the game. And I think it's great. But from a fundamental standpoint, from a focus standpoint, from on managing that room with those different personalities, and I know firsthand now being a coach, it's just a little bit different. And, going back and thinking of, the young men in that room and how, he tried to help guide us and prepare us every day. I can take a lot of what he did, how he tried to, make it light at times when necessary, reel the room back in when he's losing control. And along with that, focusing us on our daily tasks, whether it's going to school and preparing for a game. I think he did a phenomenal job.
Speaking of that room, I've had Travis and I've had Doring and all these guys on Riedel. And Travis was talking about, I want to say it was maybe the 95 year. He has a picture at his house. It's kind of an over the stadium shot, and we're in 5 wides Tiger formation. And it's you, Kwesi, Riedel, Doring, and McGriff.
So cool.
I mean, can you think? I mean, you watch a lot of tape of college teams nowadays. Can you remember a football team that had that quality of wide receivers, across the board?
It's tough, man. That's why we were fortunate to win as many games as we did. You think about, those 5 guys, all 5 of us had a chance to play in the league. And when you can put that amount of pressure on the defense, you look at some defenses, heck, they may have one, decent corner, let alone 4, or 5 to try and, run around with a group of guys like that. That's what made, our situation so unique there. And what made Coach Spurrier unique is that, he dictated the tempo all the time. And to have a group of men to play with like that, to force teams, into certain coverages and force their hands, because we're dictating the tempo and the pressure. There's not many situations. I think that there aren't many situations, across the country, throughout the history of football. I think people can, kind of compare that to.
We're speaking with not Travis McGriff. We're speaking with Ike Hilliard, Lightning Roar Hotline. Ike, go back to 95. Obviously, it was a tremendous year. Go undefeated, go out there to the Fiesta Bowl, and just Nebraska, which could be maybe the greatest college football team of all time. Just talk about losing the national title game, but then what y'all's mindset was going into the 96 year, because y'all had so many guys returning.
And you talk about days you wish you can have back. And I know that personally as an athlete, and with all walks of life, man, people remember the hiccups and, the things that don't go well and the things you don't do well. Personally, you hold very dear to your heart, for many, many reasons. And that day, we let a lot of people down. And, going into that game, as high as we were, as a team, and how good we felt about that run, not being able to finish that game off against that team, still burns today, man. That run obviously I think was pretty unprecedented at that time. We found a way to put together some pretty complete games in all phases. The mindset of that team going into it, I think we felt coming from the 94 season, even with losing, a couple key pieces, we felt as if that we can play with anybody in the country. And the amount of pressure, like I mentioned before with the last question that we put on people, we didn't think that there was a defense or a situation that can match us out there. But going out there, losing a game in a fashion that we did, we didn't just lose, we got embarrassed. And having to go back to the drawing board after running off, 12 straight until we ran into that buzzsaw was pretty tough. I think people, had a wake-up call. We had to get rid of this feeling as if, we were better than anybody else, and go back to work, take it one day at a time, 1 week at a time, one opponent at a time. And we were fortunate enough to come back the following year and get it done.
Yeah, speaking of 96, obviously you lose to Florida State. Things kind of bounce our way in some other games. Get a rematch with them in New Orleans, which had to be very special to you, friends and family there. I always ask people, what's your favorite or maybe the greatest moment as a Gator in a game? Would it be that Sugar Bowl to win the national title for you?
I can't believe I'm going to say this publicly, but it is. But the game that sticks out the most for me is the loss in Tallahassee, because it's arguably the worst game I ever played in my life. And because I was a part of 2 of the 4 turnovers in that game at Doak, and we turned it over 4 times and we lose by 3 at that place when we know we're better than that team. For me, I'm not letting that go. And I'm not one to talk or brag or I'm not a cocky dude or any of that stuff, but I live with the fact personally in my own head that because of that day, because I played the worst game that I've ever played in my life, we're not talked about as one of the best teams to ever play college football. And that bothers me. So that's probably the most defining moment for me in order to, sum up a lot of what went on at Florida, because we were fortunate enough to have one heck of a run. I played 3 years there and we only lost 4 games. We tied 1, my freshman year. And yes, being able to be at home in Louisiana and to have another chance at Florida State after, the Arizona State and Ohio State game fell the way it fell, and then Texas, Nebraska fell the way it fell, and we had that opportunity. No question, I was obviously, fortunate enough to get another crack at it. And a lot of my success, individually in that game, stemmed from just the team we had. I mean, you look at that game at Doak, Riddell goes for 2 and change and 2 touchdowns. He looks at me in the huddle in Tallahassee and was like, man, why you left me out here like that? You know what I mean? And that's just the unique thing about sports. The relationships you build, the things that you go through, individually and collectively, and the goals that you set, the things, that you go through that define, who you are and change who you are, mold who you are, man. That day at Doak sits with me. It's kind of the greatest teaching tool for me as a person, and obviously I had individual success the following chance at Florida State, and we collectively got it done as a team, but that's the one that's the most defining for me. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting. But let's talk about the one play that the Gator Nation remembers the most. It's called the stop and pop. I didn't even know it was called that, but that's what I was told. That's a play that the Gator Nation remembers, and it was a phenomenal play. there in that 52-20 win over Florida State. Is that something that I mean, you don't really practice anything like that. It's just your natural instincts take over, right?
Yeah, I was blessed on that play. Instinctively, I knew where Cozy was. Obviously playing, outside leverage the way he was, the way that defense played, eyeballing through the QB. And, in 97, when Danny threw it in there, I left my feet because obviously they had a little bit of, pressure. So I knew where Cozy was. I put it on my chest, didn't realize how close he was just in case he hit me in the back so I can protect the ball. Lo and behold, up a riff, the linebacker there just happened to lean back. They ran into each other. So just kind of, instinctively fortunate enough to make that move and get a big touchdown.
Yeah, it was good stuff. All right, so you go on. You only play at Florida for 3 years. You leave early as a junior. Get drafted first round by the New York Giants. Fortunate enough to play in a Super Bowl. Yeah, just talk a little bit about your career with the Giants. Obviously, you had some injuries that probably hampered your career later on, but it had to been. I mean, it's every kid's dream to play in the Super Bowl. Even though you lost it, is that another one that keeps you up at night?
Another situation where we run into arguably the best defense to ever play the game. One of D and Ray Lewis and those boys from Baltimore were obviously a force to be reckoned with. Physically and statistically that year. I try not to talk about my injuries much. I did have 8 surgeries. Playing this game. 2 that significantly changed the way I played the game, year 4 in the same year. But man, what a run. It was really, really cool to be a part of the New York Giant organization. To play with a bunch of men, with so much talent, a bunch of the greats to ever play the game. That Super Bowl run was unique because we had lost a couple in a row, and I think people remember, Coach Jim Foster, looking at everybody and pushing chips to the table. This team is going to the playoffs, and after you kind of reel in a little bit, he made that bold prediction. We ended up running 7 straight, running all 7 straight and getting to the bowl. After a couple tough games during the midseason, but that run was unique. I actually had a Zoom call, about a week ago with a lot of those men, and we talked about that year and how the previous year, the little things, that got away, not protecting the football. We ended up drafting Ron Dane that year and the ability to run the ball with Ron and Tiki to kind of help balance the offense and, and things of that nature without running off. I'm not too much about that. A pretty interesting situation there where, if we had not run into the, one of the best defenses to play, hopefully I'd have a ring. But heck of an experience. Enjoyed every second of it.
Yeah, you also, you're in the Florida Georgia Hall of Fame. They're in the University of Florida Athletic Hall of Fame. You're an SEC legend. And then you were also won the Ed Block Courage Award with the Giants. Mm-hmm. Let everybody know, a lot of people don't know each team votes on that award, and that had to be a tremendous honor for you.
It was, and to be able to have an injury and have your peers think that much of you, about the way that you, put the work in and try to fight to come back and play, a game of this nature. It was an honor to be selected. It was interesting because it happened my rookie year with my neck fusion. And that was my first time coming back to Florida, real quick after being drafted. It was the second game, in Jacksonville, first drive, 4th play. And, ended up getting injured and missing a year, but fought back and found a way to get through, that next situation and play. But what a great honor, what a great weekend, up in Baltimore. Tremendous setup there, and they've continued that and will continue that. And I think, people need to look into that and get more involved with that as it goes forward. But, yeah, man, but just blessed, to be a part of, some good football teams, being around a lot of good men that, obviously had some great relationships with then and still do now. And, a lot of great memories, man, from playing the game.
You went on to play with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with John Gruden as the head coach. How was it playing for Gruden?
He's funny. I love Coach Grew. He is as animated as people think he is, or see him to be on TV. He's one of the more intense men I've been around in terms of the game. Mad scientist of sorts in terms of how he tries to get inside the heads of every individual, the tactics that he'll use there. The faces are obviously classic on the sideline, but it's even worse when you get in the meeting room. Wish everybody had access to that outside of that 1 year of Hard Knocks. But great man, great coach. I enjoyed those 4 years there playing in Tampa. It was good to be back in the state. Got to see a lot of great Gator fans, along the way there. Got my family back to Florida, so it was a really cool experience for my last 4 years.
Then you decided to get into being a football coach. You started with the Florida Tuskers with Jay Gruden, John's brother. You've coached with the Dolphins, the Redskins a couple of times, Buffalo. Now you're the wide receiver coach for Mike Tomlin, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just talk a little bit about, did you want to be a coach one day or just kind of fall in your lap?
I think year 7, right after we finished year 6, year 7, being fortunate enough to be around some pretty cool coaches. Our offensive coordinator was Sean Payton, and the method, for his madness was very intriguing. Learning the game from a different perspective coming from him when he had control of the offense kind of pushed me toward, getting the itching, getting the bug to coach. Outside of, being a guy that's always been, helpful, to draft picks, coming in as they try to replace you as soon as you get in, and, you coach them up as you go along and you kick their butts, while you're out there. But, all of those lessons and stuff I thoroughly enjoyed. And it was very intriguing to me. The relationship with Jay is what fortunately got me into the business. You mentioned the UFL. Some of the purest ball, I've ever been around with those dudes, just, hungry to get out there and play and hoping to get another shot. Became the assistant wide receiver coach for the Dolphins. Then in 2011, 12, I went to Washington and had the room. I was a receiver coach in 12. There, went to Buffalo in 13, came back to DC in 14 up until this past season. It's been a great run so far. I've been around, some great players. Been fortunate enough to, to coach and learn and teach some unique talent. And looking forward to this new challenge. I mean, we have a unique team, here in Pittsburgh, and that defense is phenomenal. We get our quarterback back this year with Big Ben, and we'll hopefully be in a conversation at the end of it.
I got a 2-part question here for you. Got a few more minutes left with Ike Hilliard. It pertains to your coaching. First of all, who is the best receiver that you've coached so far in the National Football League?
You're putting me on the hot seat.
but the biggest thing I want to know, Ike, is, and you probably felt the same way when you got into the league, sometimes those guys that are sitting behind the cowboy rewinding, you should have done this, you should have done that, actually never played, but they're telling you what to do. Having you done it before, do the players that you coach have a little more respect for you, you think?
I hate using the word respect, but I think
you know what I'm saying.
I know exactly what you're saying. I was going to allude to it. I think to have that in-helmet perspective is very unique, and I guess the best way that the best way I've heard it from a coach who gave it to me was the late Tony Sperano. He looked at me, after the interview, and he said, "You're going to have to understand, if you get this opportunity, being a former player, your conversations are always going to be different. So coaches who never played the game, they're going to look at you different as well. But your playing years are like dog years to coaches. So you have to harness every conversation that you have, individually, and channel it the right way based on the personalities." And it resonated with me. Because it's true. I was fortunate enough to play. Kids look at me different. They buy a little bit more of what I'm selling, and they don't fight it all the time. we're in a situation now where you try to teach kids and, you tell them how pretty they are, from 6 years old, man, and they've got it all figured out. They've got something to say, or they don't want to, buy in. I've been blessed so far to not be so far removed from the game that they can respect a lot of what I'm trying to get across. So it's tough, because a lot of those dudes make some real money, and they have some real opinions, and you have to, balance, a lot of that with coaching, at the level that I've been fortunate enough to be on. But it's been so rewarding. And going to your question of who's the best that I've coached, this is tough because I know somebody's going to get this out and they're going to blow my phone.
You don't have to answer. We don't want to blow
No,
up.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it, man. It's a great question. Before I go into that, Terry McLaurin is going to be pretty damn good. Excuse my language. Sorry, I'm not supposed to curse. But Terry McLaurin has a chance to be really, really good. But the most talented dude that I've coached is Deshaun Jackson. For a guy to be that slightly built, to not be that tall, the hand-eye coordination, obviously when he started to lose the consistent burst, when I had him, but he's dynamic. Like, he leaves his feet, he's worse than a cat. I've only seen him come down once and not land on his feet when he goes up, regardless of how tall, how long the arms are in the DB or whatever. He's different. His ball tracking ability, he's different than any other dude I've coached.
Good deal. A couple more things for you. You were Mr. Two Bits. How was that experience for you?
Too cool, man. I'm glad that the university reached out to me and asked me to do that. It was an unbelievable experience for me and my family. It just so happened that, I had 3 girls in the house. That was their first skating game. So really, really, really cool all around experience to be back in the stadium, be around the fans, because prior to doing Mr. Two Bits, I hadn't been back since, man, maybe 2003, 2004. So it'd been quite some time, before we had been back in Gainesville in the stadium. Really, really awesome experience.
Good deal. And you got some girls, because I know a lot of former players, it seems like a lot of their girls play volleyball and y'all run into one another at these volleyball tournaments. Your kids got a chance to play at the next level in volleyball, possibly?
We don't push that narrative as much. I think from an educational standpoint, these kids dominate school. We're blessed that way. My wife does an unbelievable job. My girls do an unbelievable job in that regard, too, in terms of taking care of business. We have a little time, though. The oldest in the house right now is just turned 14. So we'll just start turning the corner where she's saying, hey, I kind of want to, turn it up a little bit in terms of playing and training and that sort of thing. Then we have 12 and 8. So I'm not on that pressure cooker right now in terms of the next level, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Speaking of education, you came back and got your degree.
Yeah, man.
Talk about how important that was to you.
One of the best things I ever did. Leaving as a true junior is one of the things that I tell the boys in the room, regardless of where you are in terms of finishing, please go back and finish. It took me 17 years to go back to college, man. And, it's always been the old saying, school is always going to be there, but education is important. No question about it. I went back and did the work, and I insanely took some classes during the season, which is extremely tough, which is another conversation. And then trying to persevere through that while having a full-time job is very hard. And I know people know that because people do it every day, trying to, advance themselves through education and that sort of thing. But went back. It's a promise I made to my mother. My wife was on my head and on my back for many, many years to go back and get that done. So I'm glad I got it done.
That's good stuff. Yeah. The last thing, and we're going to let you go. The old ball coach,
yep.
The unique guy, and he coaches a unique style.
Yes.
I ask all the former players, you got any good stories you'd like to Gator Nation to know about old Coach Spurrier?
I think everybody's told every great story. just one of my all-time favorite lines is that, coaches say, "Nah, yeah, well, it's not your fault. We're the dumbass coaches that gave you a scholarship." Favorite man all the time, man. He had a unique way of kind of poking the bear through sarcasm, like unlike any other coach I've ever been around. And it was great to see him back on the sideline recently, and hopefully he gets the itch to do it again, man. The game needs it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, Ike, we appreciate you taking the time to join us, man. Good luck with the Steelers this year. Hope you and your family stay safe, my man. We'll be watching you, and appreciate you joining the show.
Appreciate it, man. All the best to you and yours going forward, too.
All right, that's our man, Ike Hilliard, joining Pot Up with Matthews in the morning. Hey, folks at Center State Bank, we put business first. We are the largest community bank in the state of Florida. Understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 5 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. Learn more. Visit centerstatebank.com. Center State Bank, member FDIC. We're going to take a time out. Come back. We're going to be joined by Scott Moore talking his talk show, I Talk SEC. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Time out! Time out! Hey! Time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. The Best Restoration, Masters of Disasters. Pound Hurt, your preferred personal injury attorneys. Peachland Dental, Gator fans' first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte.
Bob in trouble, gets ready to fall. Big hit.
Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, The Keys Grill and Piano Bar, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Cloud9 Spa, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Center State Bank, Gator Bait Media, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Gators Dockside, Aikido America Martial Arts and After School,
Doreen Weeby Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish,
Radware, Wrap Spot,
and Style Cuts.
If you are interested in promoting your business on this show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
He's looking, still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown!
Welcome back to Pot Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It's a Monday edition. I want to thank Ike Hilliard for joining us on the Titan MR Hotline. Celebration Point, where the Gators come to celebrate, with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Palmetto Moon, Skechers, Starbucks, The Keys Grill and Piano Bar, Select Shades, Regal Cinemas, and coming soon, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and Visor's Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators come to celebrate. We're now going to go straight back to the Titan MR Hotline, and we're going to be joined by radio host Scott Moore from Birmingham/Destin, Florida. His show is called I Talk SEC. Good morning, Scott. How are you?
Guys, how y'all doing, man? Good to start Monday off with you guys. About 90 days till toe meets leather. So, Shane, hadn't seen you since the SEC title game a few years ago at the old quarterback challenge.
That's
and
right.
You're still throwing darts then. So good to see you, man. Good to be with you this morning.
You too. You talked about toe meeting leather. What is Scott Moore? Do you think the SEC, do you think college football is going to start on time?
I do. You know, we've been talking about that narrative for about 8 or 9 weeks now. And, you know, it's interesting to watch the state of Texas now that they've got 50% capacity all of a sudden. It was 25% 2 weeks ago. Now it's 50. And now you see all these crowds kind of ignoring social distancing. I mean, we've got millions of people out protesting and all that. Listen, Shane, I think when the season starts, I think we're going to have full stadiums. And I think it's going to be great. It's going to be hard to walk back all these season ticket holders that have bought all these tickets, and now all the beaches are crowded in Florida. I think in 90 days we're going to see full stadiums, guys, and I think that's going to be great. I think America needs football and needs it quick.
I agree 100%. 100%. We're speaking with Scott Moore on the Titan Moore Hotline. You can hear his show daily, 3 to 6. It's called I Talk SEC. You can check it out on wearesportsradio.com. You're an Alabama guy pretty much. Let's talk SEC West real quick.
Sure.
LSU had a tremendous year last year. They lost a ton of good players. Mm-hmm. Do you think Alabama is the team to beat in the West this year?
Well, with all the guys, the juniors that they had coming back, Shane, you lose Tua Tagovailoa, but you did play 4 games without him. And you got Najee Harris, you got Devontae Smith, you got Jalen Waddle, and the entire offensive line back except for Jedrick Wills. And there are probably 3 first-round picks in that offensive line. So offensively, I don't think there's going to be much of a drop-off from a production standpoint with Bama. And they played 13 true freshmen on defense last year. And you got everybody back on defense. This is going to be a very experienced team for Nick Saban. They get Auburn at home. They go to Tennessee, and then they go to Baton Rouge. But Bama's had phenomenal success at those 2 places. So I think Alabama's the team to beat. But watch out for Texas A&M. Maybe they get there. LSU is still very talented. But you just mentioned 16 guys off that roster are now wearing NFL uniforms. So Ova's got to do the same thing Gene Chizik did back in 2010, replace an unbelievable quarterback, an epic season, and see if he can stay on the mountain now. So LSU's got some challenges, but the SEC West, as you know, Shane, it's absolutely loaded, man.
It really is. Let's talk a little bit about Auburn. I know you cover them quite a bit.
Yeah.
What kind of pressure's on Gus this year, and your assessment of Bo Nix? I know he's got, his dad was a great quarterback at Auburn. It's in the bloodlines, but I was just so surprised last year because I know Joey Gatewood. I trained him for a summer out of the Jacksonville area. He just, to me, felt like he fit Gus's system. I mean, he basically was Cam Newton. Were you surprised he never got an opportunity?
Big time. Bo Nix was a guy that when he came out of Pinson High School in Birmingham, highly regarded. Also, his dad had some great success at Auburn when he was a quarterback there. So you got that legacy issue there, and Bo Nix was born to wear an Auburn uniform. I was surprised with Joey Gatewood's length, his size, his ability that Gus really never gave him a shot. And Bo Nix started all the games last year. He's going to be a sophomore this year. They've lost Boobie Whitlow. They've lost their entire offensive line. Great defenders on defense. I think Auburn has got probably more question marks than any other SEC West team because of all the losses around the quarterback. And Shane, when you lose a lot of players around you, especially your offensive line, your main tailback, that's cause for concern. Plus, they got a very difficult schedule at Georgia, at Alabama. It's going to be hard for them, and then LSU as well. So I think Gus is this offense and what they're trying to do fits Bo Nix very well. But man, Joey Gatewood leaving, it leaves. There's nobody behind Bo Nix if something happens to him. No security blanket. And as well as I do, Shane, nowadays in the SEC, man, you better have some depth at quarterback and quality depth. One injury and your whole season could go up in flames. So Auburn's in a precarious position, I think, going into 2020.
You mentioned Jimbo Fisher and A&M. Kellen Mond comes back. All the money they're paying Jimbo. I mean, do you think this year there's tremendous pressure on him?
Your $76 million will create some pressure on it. Listen, Kellen Mond, he started 4 years. But, Shane, looking at them last year, A&M had more opportunity on their schedule than any team in the conference. I mean, they played Clemson, they played Alabama, they played Auburn, they played Georgia. And you know what? The closest game they had to being in it was in the fourth quarter against a Georgia team that was coming off a game against Florida and was finishing their season a little bit beat up. They made that game competitive, but against every big-time opponent that they played last year, they wilted in the fourth quarter. A&M did. And listen, we understand about the SEC West. We understand the schedule. and that is a grind, having to play Clemson and Alabama and Georgia. It just beats you up. But I wasn't impressed with the way A&M handled all that last year. So I know the Aggie fan base and the money there, they expect Jimbo Fisher to bring them a championship. But, Shane, if you're not Auburn and you're not Alabama and you're not LSU, I don't know if there's room for a fourth team in the SEC West. Jimbo's got his work cut out for him over there, I think.
I agree 100%. Let's move over to the East, and we're speaking with Scott Moore from iTalk SEC up in the Birmingham and also the Panhandle area. Scott, Georgia's been the main team the last couple of years. Florida has made a jump, in my opinion, under Dan Mullen. Do you think the Gators can overtake the Dogs this year?
I'll tell you, man, it's hard not to like what Dan Mullen's doing in Florida. They are so competitive. Kyle Trask, when we go to SEC Media Days here in a couple of months, he's probably going to be the preseason All-SEC quarterback. I think that'd be a good choice. I think he is ready to take the next step as a starting quarterback. He's got a lot of pieces around him. They play great defense at Florida. And it comes down to me to the cocktail party. Georgia has got to go to Alabama. That is a very, very difficult game in week 3. No spring practice. Jamie Newman's a new quarterback. Listen, man, I mentioned quarterback. Emory Jones is a backup that played quality snaps last year. I think this is the year that Florida breaks through. With Alabama on Georgia's schedule, Georgia has no room for error. You go and lose that game in Tuscaloosa, you still got to go to South Carolina. You still got Florida. You got a difficult game against Auburn. Yeah, I think Florida breaks through this year, and I think they win the East and get to Atlanta.
And play who?
I think they'll play Alabama in Atlanta. Yes, I do.
Yeah, back to the old days. What are your thoughts on what's going up in Knoxville with Jeremy Pruitt right now? Obviously, during this quarantine, they're doing a tremendous job apparently recruiting, even though these kids aren't even going on campus. Just your thoughts on what's going on up there.
Well, first of all, I've known Jeremy a long time, and knew him. He was the Hoover High School defensive coordinator, and when Two-A-Days was on back to the MTV series, and Jeremy just had a meteoric rise in his college ranks. And I'll tell you, Shane, he's a football guy, and the thing I like about Jeremy, and I think he does as well as anybody in terms of being able to communicate. Football has its communication, right? There's a football communication from a defensive coordinator to his players. He is a great communicator. He understands that 3-4 defense, and he is a great evaluator of talent. That's one thing Jeremy does. He's also been around three different national championship programs. He is really, really, I think, where Dabo Swinney was back in 2011 and 2012. When Dabo started getting things really going at Clemson. He reminds me a lot of Dabo, the way he thinks, the way he goes about building his program. It doesn't surprise me that he's recruiting well. And I think last year we saw them win 6 games at the end. They got better and better and better. I mean, they were a couple of snaps away, Shane, from winning 10 games last year, which is a shock. So I like what Jeremy's doing. I think he is going to be get Tennessee very competitive. But again, the other issue is you got to deal with Florida and Georgia in that conference. And they are recruiting lights out, and they're still recruiting better in Tennessee. And he's got Alabama on the schedule too. And I just don't think they're in that category yet. I think they can win 8 or 9 games. The Oklahoma game is keep it to me. Florida goes there in September. That is the key game for Tennessee. You have to win that game to have a really great year. I don't know if they can win that game or not.
We're speaking with Scott Moore from iTalk SEC on the Tyke Moore Hotline. Scott's also a motivational speaker and an entertainer. You just recently were the MC for Bobby Bowden's 90th birthday party. Talk a little bit about that.
Man, Coach Bowden is a blast. I know you've met him. You played against him. And I went down. He turned 90, and I've done different bits and speeches with Coach Bowden over the last 20 years. I could do a perfect imitation of him. And
well, let's hear it, because the other thing is, you can impersonate a lot of coaches and broadcasters, and I'd love you to do some here in the last few segment of this show.
Well, first of all, Shane, good to talk to you. You look a whole lot younger than I do. It's tough being 90 years old, but it's great to talk about football, especially with an old Gator. And, I keep telling everybody, people say, hey, Coach, what is the secret to your longevity? And I said, hey, listen, you got to eat well, you got to have a great wife, and you got to be committed to winning on a daily basis. And, I think that has been the most important thing is just being consistent in your performance every day. Get up early, have a winning attitude, and just go out and try to dominate every moment of every day. And Shane, it's been very successful formula for me. Good to talk to you and scalp them some of those.
That's good stuff, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. So talk a little bit about, you emceed it. I mean, obviously that had to be a great honor for you.
Yeah, it was. They had all these Florida State greats there. Peter Warwick was there, Mike Martin, all these Florida State guys that came back, Derek Brooks and company. And I've got a great relationship with the Tallahassee Quarterback Club, and I've spoken there about 10 times in the last decade, and they are a blast. It's a great group. They give away the Biletnikoff Award down there. Hey, I've been to the Gainesville Touchdown Club, the Florida Gator Touchdown Club down there on several occasions as well. It's just great getting to go around and entertain people with the great game of football, and doing these coaches impersonations. Started, believe it or not, 30 years ago with doing Coach Dye. I learned to impersonate Coach Dye at a very young age, and he got a kick out of it, man. Coach Dye and I really became good friends. Did quite a few speeches together, and he passed away this past week, and very, very difficult for him at 80 years old. But I try to think of the one. Your old coach, the old ball coach, the head ball coach, the HBC. He wouldn't like being called the old ball coach. I'll bring him in, right? Would you like to interview Coach Spurrier right quick?
Yes, we now are being joined on the Titan hotline by former Gator, now the ambassador at the University of Florida, Steve Spurrier.
Shane, good to see you. I hope everything's going well down there. And it's good to see Gators dominating in life and on the radio too, Shane. We need more Gators out there, being out there in the forefront as we move forward. But good to talk to you. Things are going well. Everything's been real good. I would like to have had a chance to win another championship in coaching, but we had some mismanagement there, Shane. It wasn't my fault that stuff went down there in Orlando. But we're really, really good and really excited about what we did there.
All right, who else you got for us?
I'm going to tell you what, this is Coach Lou Holscher, the Notre Dame Fighting Guys. Shane, I'm going to tell you something. You did have done a phenomenal job, and I'm going to tell you this. It's absolutely beautiful being with you today talking about college football. I'm going to tell you this. The greatest thing about college football, you wake up every day, you got to be committed to something, be loving something, and you got to do the best you can to be the best you can positively be to impact people for the long haul. You do that, you're going to have a really good life and make an impact on people.
That was Lou Holtz for sure. Oh man, who else you got, Scott?
Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go around. I'll bring in real quick. I'll bring in some guys that are coaching currently. How about Ed Orgeron, the head coach of the?
Oh, we got to hear Coach O. Yes, absolutely.
First of all, go Tigers! It's great talking to you, Shane. Our football team is excited about getting back. We've been committed in this pandemic. We got our kids to drink Monster Energy drinks at least 12 to 14 times a day. I felt like that would help our team, and excited about our team. We lost a lot of players, but we got a lot of great players back. We expect to be great. We expect to dominate, and we expect to be back playing for the national championship. And got a tough game down in Florida. It's always tough to go into the swamp, but the only thing I can say today, Shane, is go Tigers.
Go Tigers. I love it. Another current coach?
Well, also got some Malzahn at Auburn. We're trying to get butter. That's all we're trying to do. Shane, there's a place down that they make Land O'Lakes butter down there in Florida, and that's what our motto is here at Auburn. Land O'Lakes. We got to get butter. Butter every day. Butter. If we can get butter, I think we can take that next step and try to get to Atlanta.
Do you do Dan Mullen at all?
The thing is, when Dan Mullen went to Mississippi State, actually worked on the Mississippi State network that year, Dan's first year, and I spent the whole football season with Dan. And I've Dan when he gets excited, hey, the club, I think we're playing great. I like the way our team is playing right now. I mean, our quarterbacks are doing what they're supposed to do. Look, it's about executing. If we execute, we're going to be fine. We just got to get off the field. That's the heat of the moment, Dan Mullen, right there in the game. So, but yeah, all these guys are, I can do about 75 different voices of coaches, from the legends, all the way up to now. And I get to go around and do all this stuff. And it's just, it's just been a blast with the broadcasters like Keith Jackson and Mick Huber at Florida. I was just watching some video earlier on Mick Huber, who I think is one of the best play-by-play guys I've ever heard. Touchdown Gators! Oh my! Love that kind of stuff, man. Love it.
Can you give us a little Keith Jackson?
This is Legion Field in Birmingham, Alabama. It is a place of history, legend, and myth in college football today. The first ever Southeastern Conference Championship game between the Gators of Florida and the Crimson Tide of Alabama. This has been a series of legendary people and moments. You want to be a legend in sports, and all you got to do is win the big games every once in a while and leave a lot of quotes. Quotes like these from General Robert Neyland, who said, touchdowns follows blocking just like night follows day. Coach Bear Bryant back in the day would look at his Warriors and simply say, be brave. Today is going to be history. Florida and Alabama for the Southeastern Conference title on ABC.
Good stuff. You had to bring up that Alabama SEC championship game against Florida, right, Scott? Thanks a lot.
Shane, was funny. Antonio's a great friend of mine, and I've been doing radio with him for the last year with Jay Barker at Birmingham. And Antonio, somebody asked me about Antonio the other day. One of the funniest human beings ever. I mean, the thing that you guys did with the SEC, the game that changed college football, I know that was a bitter moment for you, but I also think having played in that game and being part of that ball game, and you guys are connected to history for the rest of your lives. And I know it was tough losing that ball game, but I think playing in that game, having the impact that you did on the game, Shane, you can't measure that impact and what that game has meant to college football. And just being there and playing in it, that's quite an accomplishment, buddy.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And if we would have happened to have won that game, there would be no championship games. I
totally agree. It changed everything about college football. That you guys under Coach Spurrier. I mean, you were the guys. I think your team and you guys buying into what Coach Spurrier was doing there. You guys set the tone for the '90s. And what happened in college football and what you guys did at Florida, I think set the tone for where we are in college football today. Those contributions can't be measured in our great game.
I agree. Well, Scott, I appreciate you taking the time today to join us. It was great, man. I love listening to those impersonations. They're great.
Well, Shane, first of all, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Let everybody know how they can check out your show and if they want to book you or whatever to be a speaker. Yeah,
I'm on Twitter at iTalkSEC, and you can hear the show every day at wearesportsradio.com. And also you can instant message me at Twitter or Facebook at J. Scott Moore, and we'll be glad to speak. We're getting our season set up right now. I'll be opening up at the Macon Touchdown Club, going back to Tallahassee this year, going to Starkville and other places. So if you want to book me, that's how you do it. At iTalkSEC on Twitter. Just send me a message, buddy.
Well, that's great stuff. We appreciate you taking the time. Be safe out there, and we'll talk to you soon, Scott.
Shane, it was a pleasure. Thank you for having me. Let's do it again. I need to get you on my show real soon too, brother.
Anytime, my man. Take care.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
That's Scott Moore from iTalkSEC joining the program. Hey, folks, refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from WrapSpot. June is your lucky month at WrapSpot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. Visit them at wrapspot.com today. We're going to take our last time out of the pro. When we come back, we'll wrap this show up. You've been watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Time out! Time out! Hey! Time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. The Best Restoration, Masters of Disasters. Pound Hurt, your preferred personal injury attorneys. Peachland Dental, Gator fans' first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, The Keys Grill and Piano Bar, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Cloud9 Spa, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Center State Bank, Gator Bait Media, Damas Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Gators Dockside, Aikido America Martial Arts and After School,
Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish,
Radware, Wrap Spot,
and Style Cuts.
If you are interested in promoting your business on this show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support this show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
He's looking, still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown!
Welcome back to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security Systems Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Really want to thank former Gator great wide receiver Ike Hilliard for joining the show today, and also Scott Moore from I Talk SEC. I love his impersonations. Hey folks, this day in sports is brought to you by the Best Restoration. Do you have COVID-19 concerns? Do what everyone is doing and hire the Best Restoration to fully sanitize and sterilize your home or office. Visit their offices this week for a free bottle of hand sanitizer when you mention the code Shane. Call 352-234-8994. This day in sports, back in 1969, Mickey Mantle gives his farewell retirement speech during Mickey Mantle Day at Yankee Stadium, and they retired the old number 7 this day in sports. Hey, folks, don't forget, go to Facebook Live, follow our show, like us, check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts as well. Tomorrow, you do not want to miss it. We're going to have good old Buddy Martin, but we got Jesse Palmer, former Gator quarterback, former Bachelor. Man, he does all kinds of stuff, and you see him covering college football for ESPN. So make sure you tune in, tell your friends about it. That's going to be a wrap for today's show. Take care, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.